Let's talk about Marjorie Taylor Greene on 60 Minutes. Dozens of you wrote to me. As many people wrote to me as the number that protested for Trump at Mar-a-Lago. Dozens of you wrote to me and said, David, what is your take about 60 Minutes interviewing Marjorie Taylor Greene? They are platforming a lunatic. They are pretending as though they're normalizing the idea of Marjorie Taylor Greene as someone who should be in government. It's just a matter of, do we agree about her views, rather than making her out to be the dangerous extremist who has no business in a position of power. I tweeted yesterday, I understand the concerns and I want to see the interview first. And the reason I said I want to see the interview first is I've long advocated for something called responsible platforming. And by responsible platforming, I mean, it's not about who you interview, it's how you interview them. And so, for example, when I have someone on the show who is explaining nuclear fission to us as a subject matter expert, I handle that interview differently than when I interviewed, for example, a white nationalist neo-Nazi Richard Spencer. If I'm going to have Richard Spencer on, I need to be prepared to make sure that my audience understands his extremist ideas are dangerous, that they're bogus, and so on and so forth. I think people get this. The point is the interview's appropriateness is evaluated based on how the interview is handled. And it wasn't handled the best by Leslie Stahl, but it wasn't the end of the world. Overall, I don't like that. I think the interview did normalize Marjorie Taylor Greene to a degree. That's where I come down. It wasn't overall a softball interview, but there were moments that weren't so good. Let's look at just a couple of moments. Here's one question about whether Marjorie Taylor Greene has deliberately styled herself after Donald Trump.
How much have you styled yourself?
And why don't we have audio here? I'm not sure. We do have audio. My headphone has become unplugged. Let me plug that back in. Beautiful. All right, let's take it from the top.
How much have you styled yourself after Donald Trump? People say.
And by the way, this look from Marjorie Taylor Greene, one thing I want to say, and I won't harp on it, is Greene's attitude the entire interview was sort of like, this isn't a serious show. Leslie Stahl isn't serious, and I'm above this. This is just me placating the fake news. And it was pretty disgusting, but let's not harp on that.
That you are Trump in high heels.
I didn't intentionally style myself after President Trump, but I can see how people draw those similarities. We both come from the same industry, construction. I also have pretty much a plain speaking style.
Yeah.
And so does he.
Okay. So a little bit fluffy. One of the better moments was when Leslie Stahl was prepared with fact checks and tweets and everything to question Marjorie Taylor Greene about things she had previously said, including that the Parkland shooting was a false flag and other things. Marjorie Taylor Greene basically just denies it. But I do think this was one of the stronger parts of the interview. Let's take a look.
Shortly after she arrived in Washington, the Democratic-led House ousted her from her committees because of her past endorsement of violence against some Democratic leaders and her history of embracing QAnon that she explained in a speech on the House floor.
I stumbled across something, and this was at the end of 2017, called QAnon. I was allowed to believe things that weren't true, and that is absolutely what I regret. Well, I apologize to my colleagues. I think apologies are important.
Okay, did you ever apologize to Nancy Pelosi about the bullet to her head?
I didn't say that, so I don't need to apologize for words that weren't mine.
Didn't you like it?
Other people also ran my social media.
So now it's like, listen, the party of personal responsibility, that was other people. Well, if other people liked something about Nancy Pelosi needs a bullet to the head and you don't agree with it, shouldn't you loudly denounce the sentiment? Oh, no, other people run my social media.
I don't think I did that.
Are you saying that you don't stand by what's on your social media?
Well, of course I stand for what's on my social media, but at times you're not always in control. We have all kinds of people that work on our...
So it's not your fault. Oh, okay. Got it. Wow. Great responsibility, huh?
Social media.
Did you apologize for your position on Parkland, Florida?
What was my position on Parkland, Florida?
That it was a false flag?
I don't know if you actually have my position. No, I never said Parkland was a false flag.
Okay, so there's a post. It's called a payoff to keep his mouth shut since it was a false flag planned shooting, to which Marjorie Taylor Greene responded, exactly.
No, I've never said that. School shootings are horrible. I don't think it's anything to joke about.
We fact-checked before I got to this interview.
Have you fact-checked all my statements from kindergarten through 12th grade?
Okay, that's called a red herring, not at issue. She's denying having said things that are on the record.
In college, and as I've paid my taxes and never broken a law, and I got a few speeding tickets. Do we need to?
Remember, it doesn't have anything to do with breaking the law. She's denying having said things that she said. This is how you try to distract.
Talk about those too, because I think where you're going down is the same attacks that people have attacked me with over and over and over.
She means holding me accountable for things I've said.
Well, if this is what you're known for, I think it's good that you're responding to the charges. I think it's a legitimate
because
thing
people
for us to
constantly focus on it, but never focus on anything good about me.
There is nothing good. That's the problem. I mean, it's a sad thing, but she's done nothing good since coming to Congress. She's only had this path of destruction where she harasses the victims of school shootings, spreads conspiracy theories, spreads medical disinformation, and then she's never held accountable for it. So this is an attempt to ask her about the things she's done, which are basically saying horrible things.
Button this up and we'll move on. You want to bring the Republican Party closer to your views. You want to bring the country closer to your views. You've said that. Mm-hmm. Okay. Here are some of the things you've said. That America should have a Christian government, that abortion should be banned nationally, that you want to defund the FBI. Yes. You want immigration to stop for 4 years. You've said those things, correct?
Oh yeah, these are some of my views.
The Constitution, the very First Amendment, prohibits having a religion in the government.
Yet the Founding Fathers quoted the Bible constantly and were driven by their faith.
Marjorie Taylor Greene.
That's a total cop-out, by the way.
As a fervent supporter of the now indicted Donald Trump, she was a featured speaker at his rally in Waco last weekend. While she's adored here, the latest national poll has her approval rating at just 29%.
Marjorie Taylor Greene, you happen to be here. Would you like to run for the Senate? And I will fight like hell for you, I tell you.
The question for her and the country is, can she expand her brash MTG brand beyond the right-wing populist base?
I believe the answer is obviously not. So listen, some fact-checking there certainly. Marjorie Taylor Greene is a narcissist much like Trump, and so you never really get her. Because no matter how you push her, eventually she'll say she's being misquoted or you don't understand or she's actually correct or whatever the case may be. One other moment I do want to show you from this interview, and I would watch the whole thing if you really want to understand the full scope of it. She said, actually, the U.S. government really isn't worthy of much respect and deserves to be attacked.
But also, he's often in attack mode. And you appear to be.
Yeah, I think our government deserves it. They don't really deserve to be respected that much.
Right. And of course, the government that doesn't deserve much respect and deserves to be attacked is the one that she works in and makes $175,000 a year for doing and is paid through the taxpayer funded salaries of everyone that is in her position, but it's an entity that should be attacked and blah, 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 blah. So overall, this interview was an atrocity. It was more an atrocity because of the things that Marjorie Taylor Greene said. I don't think that some of you came away from this saying this was a total puff piece and it's horrible what Leslie Stahl did. Others came away saying it's amazing how Marjorie Taylor Greene was held accountable by Leslie Stahl. I think that there were some really good attempts to hold her accountable. She's really slippery, like Trump is slippery. And her base is not going to think twice about supporting her based on this interview. We all understand it for what it is. So I don't know that damage was done, but I don't know. Let me put it this way. I don't know that damage was done to Marjorie Taylor Greene's reputation, and I don't know that the interview was too damaging to 60 Minutes. My preference would have been not to have her on there at all after seeing this interview. I want to hear from you. Let me know what you think.